Albob875, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Assemble Show podcast, my friend. Great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. And we have a massive chat, which is insane right now. Guys, if you can, I got this raid of people. Robo Desert as well as Robert Highwind came in and they did a raid on me, which is disgusting and weird. Guys, the conversation we were having before Al joined on, and he will get his time in the sun, don't you worry. We were talking about snacks. We're talking about candies. We're talking about going to the Blockbuster, your respective store. If you're Mav, you're in the Dallas area, you go to the local region, local location. Snacks. You went to Blockbuster, Robert. You raided a Blockbuster. You go in there. It's time for snacks. Time to get some goodies. What are you getting? What's the game? What's the goodie? Then we talked about chips. Mav's got some choices. Jacob, Bushly Gaming, is in the chat as well. He's got some kettle barbecue nonsense happening in his life. Matt goes for salt and vinegar. Al, what were you doing? Chips.
Oh, chips? Probably barbecue, yeah. Although when I was younger, I was probably just going for the original because my sister would go with sour cream and onion, so we just like share.
Why is it that when you get... You go, like for me, when you get like the little like Halloween bag size ones, the minis, how come I always get like just regular plain, and I love it, or Doritos?
Yeah. Now Doritos, nacho cheese or Cool Ranch.
Nacho cheese.
Gotta be Cool Ranch.
Oh, go get something. Get some help. Nacho cheese is great. Nacho Ranch, it's good.
I got something right here.
Oh, you got yourself a little Bud Light. Oh, you're a nice man, ladies and gentlemen.
No, Keithstone, actually.
Oh, you got a Keystone Light. I'm sorry, you didn't turn. You got to turn that whole thing. Miss Blockbuster, I look back and I say, Kino Omega says, "What's a Blockbuster?" You go get some Google. Get some Google in your life, Cody. Bunch of crunch. What? Nat? Hold on, Nat. Bunch of crunch for candy. Silent Hill PS1. That sounds like a Saturday night.
That's a good Saturday night.
That's a decent way to live your life. I'm excited. Well, I'm not going to hang on any longer. We've talked shenanigans. We've talked a little bit of nonsense, and we will continue to do that tonight. I'm very excited, guys. If you can, do me a favor, hit that follow button. Go follow my friend Al. Al, before we get into everything, the whole rigmarole, where could they find you real quick if they want to be able to follow you?
Yeah, so you can follow me pretty much anywhere. Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, at Albob875, or pretty much, like I said, pretty much anywhere there. You can also follow me over at Waypoint Podcast. I'm a co-host over there. We have a few different shows. Every other week we switch between the Waypoint Podcast, which is basically an anything and everything kind of show.
Yep.
Then we also have a show where it's called The Grind, which is a podcast about content creation where we bring in one guest every week and talk to them about the content they create. So we have we've had Asa Greenriver on and Josh Spiddick so far, and we're going to be recording episode 3 to Friday night. So
I have a couple of things I want to talk to you tonight about, and obviously, guys, if you just joined us, thank you so much for following us. Please do me a favor and follow the show here at twitch.tv/assemble show, because we do our podcast every single Monday and Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's probably like 6 something in your time zones, everybody else. Nonsense. And then you can check it out as well as we've dipped our toe into like official podcasting stuff. So if you wanted to, one, you can check this whole episode out. The whole piece that we're doing with Al is going to be up on YouTube, youtube.com/assemble show. It'll be up tomorrow, and it will be on all your podcasting platforms across the world. So all of our segments, everything is up on podcasts like Spotify. You can search for Assemble Show Podcasts, and should just pop up there, which is kind of cool. So guys, do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, do all the fun stuff. Do it for Al. Check out Waypoint as well. Al, tonight, we're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to talk about Twitch. We're going to talk about your streaming life, because you are a busy man. Mm-hmm. You are a busy, glorious man who is not only involved in multiple things, from the Waypoint Podcast to your own Twitch stream you are on regularly, as well as just like the amount of time you're spending on social media, and then we're going to get into nitty gritty, which is talking Cyberpunk. So let's kick things off right.
Oh boy.
You guys keep going in the chat. You keep talking about the Blockbuster. And Cody, get out of here, because if you don't know about Blockbuster, I have no room for you here. Nat, you take care of him. And shame. Robert, thank you for coming. It's shame. We shame him on this show. Al, how did streaming start for you? You have been on Twitch
Mm-hmm.
now for a while, and your community has grown, and you are extremely active and positive and a great influence when it comes to the Twitter. But you really have your hands in so many avenues. What got you started on Twitch as a platform, and what kind of got you the itch and the motivation to get all this started and get going?
A lot of it was just seeing, or first of all, big thing was the pandemic, obviously, stuck at home. But then I really saw a lot of friends starting to stream. I had met a couple of people through Kind of Funny, some other KFBFs, and I've hung out or really or like I had conversations with them over Twitter and stuff like that. And I saw that they were streaming, so I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? One random Friday night, I'm like, I took the PS4, brought it closer to the router so I could hook it up through Ethernet, and just gave streaming a try through the PS4.
And what do you like
And
about Twitch's platform in general? Because I always enjoy, like I did with Josh even the other day,
mhm,
trying to talk a little bit more about the whole world of streaming, because Josh and I talked about this on Monday's show, and I want to get your perspective too. Of we saw with the pandemic currently and when it first kicked off that numbers really spiked in terms of YouTubers and podcasts that became
mhm.
alive, as well as the amount of streamers coming on Twitch. I think that there is an argument, and you tell me, but I think there's an argument in place of that number is going to level out and kind of find its footing. What is it about the current state of Twitch that you enjoy, and also what do you where do you think the platform is going or needs to go, kind of in the more immediate future?
Well, I'd say I really didn't browse Twitch. Twitch isn't very browsable, but I kind of
Yeah.
hung out in Kind of Funny stream, and a couple of the bigger like YouTubers that I watched. I really didn't hang around on Twitch all that much until I actually started streaming myself.
Hmm.
Um, and and biggest thing after streaming so long, like, or what kind of brought it, I guess, sorry, to back up to your first, why I like, or I guess what I like about the platform is that it's just all about community.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they have subscriptions, the bits, the emotes, the sub badges. Once you hit affiliate, so there's that goal. It looks like a lot when you first start off, but
Yeah.
man, it is, because the 50 followers, the 3 average viewers. But man, like, it's one of those, like, if you put the call out and like you have a bigger community like the Kind of Funny community, they can get you that affiliate status super easy.
That's what I've noticed about a
And
lot of people that we know and hang out with in the community as
mm,
well, is that when anybody out there that is looking for a push and needs to, like, that kind of that jump start, it's incredible to see the community, Kind of Funny community, and even just the broader sense of like all the people that we talk to and that we just end up kind
yep.
of in getting engaged with online, is how supportive everybody is. Because you tell me, but I think that a lot of it is because we are all small content creators starting out or just about to start on something. Everyone knows that
Mhm.
feeling of like, would you check it out? I built this thing where I'm streaming this game. Would anybody come
Yep.
and watch? And I think what I've noticed is just that the high level of positivity that's out there.
Yeah, so, like, just in the few months I've been streaming, I've become part of a couple different communities. Two of the biggest ones are what we call the Carl Collective, which is kind of like, it was started in one of Nerf Alice's streams.
Yep.
And then there's also the NTO, the New Twitch Order. Shout out to
The
Robert Hywen.
new Twitch order.
Yeah. So, like, in the Carl Collective, we've even started our own Discord just between all of us, and there constantly we're just, any cool streamers that we're finding, that
Mm-hmm.
are looking for that affiliate grind, we is put them in there and help boost them up, just like how we all did for each other.
Yeah. No, it's great,
So,
and that's what I've noticed myself is starting off very recently. That, like, right now where there's raids and I'm an old schmuck. I can barely get cameras to work and audio. It's terrifying when you're like, hey, there's an echo man. I'm like, I have no idea what's gonna happen now. But seeing
that's
people being
just life of the streamer.
yeah, I'm just like,
There's always
like, why
issues.
can't I press the button? I've got the deck thing here, and that it seems cool, but I'm setting up different commands for different things. Like, can it just take shortcut me to YouTube, and has nothing to do with streaming? But what I've noticed is, how great the communities can be in just supporting any content creators and letting it grow. And there's a lot of positivity there. But I'm wondering too, on the other side of things with Twitch, I am one that likes to read up on where social media platforms are going, the direction they may be taking. Some of the the DMCA stuff where, they can't broadcast any of the copyrighted music now, and they're really coming down right now, like even posts that were up today. Where, number one, and I'll start here, but Al, what do you think Twitch needs to do kind of in the next year to 2 years to better its platform? What would you say?
That's kind of a hard one, but like for me, I watch a lot of Alpha Gaming, which is a big, stream help channel. And I actually today he was watching the Twitch town hall, which went over a bunch of the stuff. And one of the big things he was advocating for Twitch to do is buy a broadcaster license, or have Spotify have a broadcaster's license. So that way streamers could pay a little bit extra, and that way Spotify and all the artists get money for this, songs that we stream, and then that way we don't have to worry about DMCA strikes.
Because that's so hard to control, and to say that they're going to crack down and arrest people or fine them obscene amounts of money.
And apparently they're now starting to, they're trying to put a law into effect where even when you're live, you can get DMCA strikes.
How would that work? Like just being live with it?
Oh, I don't know. It's just saying, because this is the big issue, is that even if you delete all your clips, don't allow clips, you delete all your VODs, it still is held in Twitch's back end, so they can still give you a DMCA strike.
Right, because reading about that recently, where even what
BS.
even what is saved is it's still on Twitch's server. So even if you have deleted it, it's still sitting on their end.
You can delete it on our end, but it's still on their end.
So when people are sitting there with hundreds of hours worth of content, and even if they're trying to clean it up, it's still that kind of proprietary footage of you is still behind someone else's server that you don't have access to. And it's very interesting. Al, why do you think that they would? I think it's a great point that Harris is making from Alpha Gaming of they should go in this direction of trying to monetize it, get a license agreement with something like Spotify. It's Amazon. Why wouldn't they just consider having Amazon Music?
That's why don't you ask Twitch? That's a great question.
We use our Twitch Prime subscriptions to boost friends and community and all that. How could you not have a Twitch stream platform with a music platform?
It's a simple solution. I don't understand.
And like you said, if it's we need to charge creators or something, which you can't. I don't see that we could do that, but I think that you can monetize it by just taking a percentage off through ad revenue, through something else to pay for that, right?
Yeah. Well, that's another big thing is how ads are going right now, because there's that experiment Twitch ran a while back about mid-roll ads, where if you're not running pre-roll ad, which is basically when you first enter a stream, it'll show you an ad or two. In mid-roll ads, they'll just play during the middle of the stream, where the stream will kind of go up to the corner above the chat, and then you'll see an ad on your screen, and then stream will come back in, but audio's muted. You can still see what's going on, but you're missing out on that content. That was a big portion. I was actually listening in on a stream today about that, and he was saying that ads are completely different on Twitch than they are to YouTube, just because on YouTube they actually pause the content, so you don't miss a thing.
Yeah.
Whereas ads on Twitch, they just play right in the middle. It could be right in the middle of a boss fight, or right in the middle of a final round of Fall Guys or something. You can miss that completely.
So this leads into another question I have for you, and to you guys in the chat as well. By the way, thank you so much for tuning in. It's very nice to have you all. But I do have this question for kind of everybody is, what do you think the big then difference is? You brought up YouTube. What do you think is the biggest differences then from their streaming platforms in that regard? From how come YouTube has been able to do it? There's a lot wrong with the way they stream. They have their kinks respectfully, but how come YouTube is able to handle that piece, speaking specifically to the ads, and kind of get it right, I guess, to a degree, versus that of Twitch, which seems like they change it up every couple of months and they just use it as a testing ground. Why does it seem like YouTube has their stuff together better than Twitch in that space with the ads?
I think part of it is just because YouTube's been around longer, so they've been able to fine tune it a bit more. And the biggest thing today Harris was talking about was targeted ads, whereas YouTube, it's, you have a video on this topic.
Yep.
So they're able to better target, like, with technology and streamers and like basically whatever the topic the video is covering, they can better target those ads. So they know, like, hey, there's a better chance of people actually clicking on these ads, even though they're skippable. Whereas Twitch, you could have an 8-hour stream where you're doing just chatting. You could change to Warzone. You could change to Cyberpunk. It's like, they can't target ads as well.
Right.
It's kind of, okay, you're on Twitch, so you're probably a gamer. So there's going to show you like gaming ads.
Or you're just going to get an Amazon ad for the new shows. That's what I get 80% of the time is just 30-second Amazon ad that you mute, and it's a big problem. What I've noticed too, and I think this is discussed a lot. I know like on Alpha Gaming they talked about it, but and other shows, one of the biggest cruxes right now, or what's hurting communities in general, I think, and streamers, is that ad piece at the beginning. The pre-roll ad has a massive drop-off of people that I'm going to click on your stream and I get a pre-roll ad, they're out. And they're out very quickly. And we lose so many people, potential audience members, community members, because I don't want to have an ad. Or they see it doing that way. What do you think then that they can do to change it? Because I don't see this as being a forever thing. I know that Twitch is going to have to make their money with AdSense somehow. It needs to be incorporated in there. Like, it's kind of the nature of the game. But so what could they do differently, Al, to make it better? Because I find the pre-roll ad brutal, and I do click off. I think like a lot of us do. We bail because we're like, I'll try back in 5-10 minutes. Something happens, I'm gone. What can Twitch do then to change that piece for content creators, for streamers?
It's a tough one because I'm not really into that kind of ad space, but
just even as a content creator yourself, right? You're on the platform and you're hit with these ads. How would you want it to be kind of shaped and molded?
I mean, I think it would just be better control of the ads. Like, yeah, you can go into the broadcast software, or not your stream manager, and then on all those little tiles, you can run an ad, but that only gets you like a half hour, maybe 45 minutes to an hour at most.
Right.
So, because I think they said if you run 3 minutes of ads for an hour, you're good for that next hour for pre-roll ads, I think. But it's still like that's 3. I know that's like they were saying, that's not much compared to other stuff, but that's still if you're running 3 minutes of ads, you can miss a lot in that 3 minutes.
Yep. And I think it makes it really hard then for streamers and creators to have any real control over how they want to plan out a stream. Maybe it is a podcast where we have guests, or you're doing multiple people, and you're getting into topics like you just have no control or say over when is this going to get interrupted. So you just have to go with it. And if you are a streamer, a bigger streamer, and it's a lot of like you're looking for highlights, replays, things like that, I think it makes it really difficult. I find that with Twitch lately, there's a lot of work to be done to improve that platform. And why haven't, and again, you guys in the chat, tell me about this too, but how come there's no other player? And we had Mixer. That's over. There's Facebook.
There is one. It's YouTube. Like, they have their ads all figured out. It's that whenever Twitch does die, everybody's just going to go to YouTube.
And why isn't there, Al, then another, and to you guys online too, why isn't there another platform?
They're trying to start up. There's a bunch of smaller ones. I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but they just don't have that kind of big push behind them. And they're not as well established. That's why Twitch and YouTube are like the two big guys right now.
But wouldn't you almost think, and I did, one of these popped up today for me, and I think the name of it was Glimpse or Glyph or something like that, but it's it's a small streaming platform anyways, and it popped up on my Twitter feed and I clicked on it, and I just gave it a read for a second, and it looks decent, and I just started thinking today before the show, if I'm a small content creator, the biggest challenge I think right now for guys like me would be its visibility. There's millions of people looking on Twitch right now throughout the course of a day, and then there's hundreds of thousands of streams and everything coming in and out of all neck of the woods on anything and everything. And that's amazing. But discoverability on Twitch has been one of their biggest issues, right? Where it's, if you're the biggest, you got the most views. It's not browsable, and they need to, again, what they need to fix. So I kind of look at it too, Al. What do you think? Do you think there's merit, or people should really start to take notice of researching smaller streaming platforms? This is us saying this as we are on Twitch right now, but do you think that there's merit to look at it for like someone like me and go, you know what? Maybe I should actually look at a smaller streaming platform because maybe I'd be a bigger fish in a small pond.
Yeah, I mean, there was that same conversation when Mixer started up too.
Yep.
It was that same conversation. It's, it's backed by a big company, Microsoft, and look what happened. They just could not compete with the likes of YouTube streaming and Twitch. It's just one of those things like, if Microsoft can't stand with the big dogs, how can the small company,
True. And you'd have to just start to make a lot of noise if you're a small channel.
Which they aren't, because that's why it's literally just, I know Facebook is there too, but no, Facebook's doing bad things, so we just leave them out.
Fair enough. And it's, I think that's, I wonder that. I hope for smaller players to be able to step up and give you that kind of indie style of streaming platforms. I look at YouTube and Twitch, they're obviously the biggest players out there, but with that comes the headaches that I think we're seeing right now with ad revenues, with AdSense, with being interrupted by pre-roll, mid-roll ads and things like that. Not being able to figure out where streamers are. Sorry, say that again.
Those are all Twitch issues.
Yeah.
Whereas YouTube, they kind of have that all figured out. Like they have just regular YouTube, which is their, regular content. They're starting to add YouTube Shorts, which is, I'm guessing, like, like the TikTok or the Instagram Reels.
Pretty much, yeah.
They have stories on YouTube. It's like they're trying to make YouTube an all-around, all-encompassing platform.
And do you think, I did ask Josh this on Monday, I wanted to get your take as well, on that note of YouTube branching into like all things, like you said, to be able to have a little bit of everything from all of them. Do you find that, kind of in the way of TikTok, that short form content is the direction that we would see more and more as years go by? Or do you think that there's always this place for the long, and everybody just has their taste? Josh's fill was, everyone basically just has their flavor, and maybe just depending on your mood or the type of person they want longer form. But I'm kind of wondering if that shorter bite-sized version content is where people are going. What do you think?
I have a feeling that that's almost a generation thing.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like people kind of like, I'm around our age, that we kind of like those longer form contents just because we're busy, we're doing stuff. So we like to have things on in the background so we can just have it on, kind of leave it and forget it. And then there's people that are like, like grew up with the, Vine and now TikTok, where it's just quick hits in and out, in and out, in and out.
And it's Instagram stories and it's scrolling, right? And it's just check your feed, click on this, watch for 30 seconds, click the next, and that's it. And that's what I've wondered with younger generations.
The instant gratification. They've always had the internet. They've never known otherwise. Whereas like me, I grew up into the internet.
Yeah, same.
So
So I was a youngin', and it came home, and we talked to people in another country using little tiny stick plastic microphones. They're fantastic.
Yep.
And some sort of chat.
Those as well.
Natalie says that she kind of hates the TikTok. Nat, I'm older. I do not use the TikTok. I can't do it. I'm too senile, and I'm too tired all the time. I'm old. You lurk, Robo Desert. You do that, guys. Thank you so much for joining us right now. Al, you can check him out at Albob875 on Twitch, on all your platforms, on Twitter and everything. Please do give him a follow. He's also got a Waypoint Podcast, which is an amazing, amazing show where they have content creators on. The guys talk everything from video games, yes, but taking things a step further to be able to talk about with other content creators what they enjoy, the grind of it all, They have a show called The Grind as well, which is really, really awesome. 32, well, not old. No, Nat, you're not old. You're fantastic. I'm older, not by much. And do us a favor, check out everything out on youtube.com/assemble show, where you can have the podcast there, as well as on your podcast platforms, which I'm excited about. So you can go to podcast services around the globe, as they say on the Kind of Funny World, which is a fun thing to say. It's on Spotify and everything else. And it's fantastic. But I do want to switch gears. We talked a little bit about the content creation piece, which I always enjoy. And outside of the content creation piece, there is this whole world of video games, Al. And you and I have been playing the video games a lot. You have been streaming a ton, since you are the streamer. You've been doing a thing, and like a lot of us, you've been playing Cyberpunk. Now,
I have
played Cyberpunk. I had a video. I returned Cyberpunk. I'm out. I know.
Oh no.
Oh no, he's gone. No one cared. No. And it was a whole thing. I want to get your thoughts and impressions. And let's start off with, how many hours into this are you with Cyberpunk, roughly?
I'm probably about 11 hours into the game.
Okay. Did you get the title screen?
Yes, I finished Act 1, and that's about where I stopped one day. And then I've just been doing side missions because, man, it seems like you get Act 1 done, finally meet Johnny Silverhand.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that just seems like that's when the world opens up. It seems like they want you to get through Act 1 as quickly as possible. I don't say as quickly as possible, but they kind of really push you through that main quest.
I noticed that in the beginning. I felt like I was really just thrusted into. I picked Corpo, and I felt like I was really rushed, but pushed right into the world, into the story. And they really wanted to just kind of like, let's hit these beats because we're go. And I'm like, oh, okay. I just wanted to do the main story. Al, what are you playing on for your version of Cyberpunk?
I am playing on PC. Originally, I was playing on, I'll say probably for the first 6-7 hours, I was playing on 1080p, was getting about 60 frames a second on the Ultra with ray tracing settings. Okay. For people, I've got a 2070 Super, a Ryzen 7 3700X, and 16 gigabytes of RAM. So
a lot of words. Those are numbers.
It's for the people that know, that's a good rate. It's not fantastic, but it's not like top of the line. But
you're able to play it, and I'm going to ask then, how are the bugs and crashes or lack thereof for you on your rig, as they say? That's a term. It's a rig.
Yes. I actually have not crashed at all yet. I've had some weird glitches, like the first time I played the game, Jackie, he's like your basically your sidekick in the game. Or not sidekick, but like your friend in the game, companion. Yeah. And he was walking through and like holding up his hands like he had his guns there, but the guns weren't showing.
He had he's just doing this. Finger guns, finger pistols. Oh, great. I've seen the glitch
through. His hands like they're holding him, but they're holding them, but they're just not showing. It was the weirdest thing. And then he walked through a wall, through some lockers, papers went everywhere.
I've seen that one. Yeah.
And then he just walks through and it's just fine. It's like, okay, that was weird. Like that's about all my glitches have been. It's just weird. Like earlier tonight, I was playing just to get a little bit more prepared, get a little bit further in to the game, and I had a glitch where I got out of my car because I wanted to take somebody else's car because I had to just, or not to spoil anything, but like, you just don't have a car. So I'm just walking around everywhere, just going from car to car. And so I had stopped him, tried to jump over the car to get to the driver's side. And then next thing I know, I'm like flying through the air, and then I died because I went so far in that air.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm really enjoying it, which because of all the because of everything that's been going on with the base last gen versions, I almost feel bad for.
How has it impacted your play of the game with the bug? They're not that bad on the PC side for your experience. Mm-hmm. Have they taken you out of the game to that extent? Like, are you able to stay kind of with it in the game, in the moment to moment gameplay of it, or are you finding that it's enough where it's actually taking you out of it?
It's one of those, like, it takes me out for like that, split second, and like the like maybe next couple minutes afterwards, like, oh, that was kind of weird, kind of a thing. But then it's like one of those, yeah, you get back to doing whatever you're doing and just kind of forget about it.
Now, I'm not a huge RPG guy, and that's why I was like really excited to try Cyberpunk, to be like, okay, I want to get into Night City, I want to get into this world, and I really want to experience it. How does it compare for you to other RPGs and those mechanics? Do you feel that it has a very like deep RPG system built in there, or do you feel that it's yeah, you do? Okay, it's not like all broken up.
So. I think so. It's I mean, it kind of reminds me, I mean, obviously because of, the same developer, but how The Witcher was, like, it just seems like it's so deep. But I think with this one, this time around, they took that criticism that some people might have had with The Witcher, and made it a bit more understandable to like what stats this helps.
Right.
Because like every time you level up, it's like, hey, this you put your points into this, like it does this. It's not just like putting a point into something that you have no clue what it's really doing.
That's usually my problem with games like that, where it's, okay, you've collected all these skill points and you have your whole tree that you got to unlock or upgrade. And I'm either doing like just auto deploy them because I'm like, I don't really know. There's a lot of categories for me to focus on to figure this out. I want to get back in the world. For mechanics that are like shooting and driving, I've heard that and I've played it, but for other people, other players out there too, like driving for me, I was like, it's fine. It's not as like loose as GTA, where like I feel like I'm kind of all over the place a little bit sometimes. I felt it kind of weighty and heavy, which was nice. I did have glitches within the car, which was fun.
Oh yeah.
And even Jackie on his motorcycle, he was like off of it, stuff kind of everywhere. And shooting though, for me, and I really want to get your take on all of this because you played way more than I did. How do you find the shooting mechanic in it? I was not the biggest fan, I gotta tell you. I thought it was good. I thought shooting with rifles was good. It had good recoil. But pulling pistols, I was like, it's so small, like target. And like,
yeah,
like I'm not, maybe they'll patch it, maybe they did more, but bullet sponges, just full out clocking the guy in the head, and he just goes, and he's down like 15%. What do you think about how how CD Projekt Red structured the driving mechanics as well as shooting mechanics, which are really, really big in this game? Do you think that they spent enough time on it, or do you think that even those core pieces needed to be baked longer?
Well, I'll say with the driving first, I actually, because I didn't realize you could switch the camera, so I was struggling with driving in first person. Because whenever I'm in a driving game, I hate doing the first person view. I don't know what it is, but as soon as I figured out I could switch cameras to that third person view, the driving just felt so much better.
I did the exact same thing. I can't, unless it's Forza or it's like a full sim, then I'll toggle a little bit more because I will like to be in the cockpit. But anything like GTA or this or Need for Speed, like I'm always third person, back me out of it, because I like to have just that field of view, and it feels like I have more control, oddly.
And the thing is too, with like the ray tracing and stuff like that, it's like just insanely bright when you're inside the car. Whereas you get the third person camera, it goes back to like the regular settings. I don't know what that was, or if I just had my HDR on too high or something. I don't know, but
and I know that was a whole thing too, of like everybody I think even yourself, I saw you online maybe, where it was like, how do we adjust? Here's how to adjust your settings for play. Like if you have, hey, if you've got HDR enabled, if you have all of this stuff, turn this off, toggle this off, turn this down.
So just last night, I actually watched a video from Digital Foundry. They actually put out a video recently where it's, if you're playing on PC, the settings to change that'll increase your performance but won't visually change the game.
Right.
And I was actually able to I actually meant to get to this earlier, but I actually was able to boost my game up to 1440p, and with all the custom settings, and I'm still hovering anywhere between like 45 to 60 FPS, which honestly, I haven't really noticed much difference.
Yeah.
Because it's, yeah.
Do you get huge frame rate drops or anything that you've noticed where if it's
A couple
yeah.
big ones I've noticed is always Lizzie's Bar, because there's all that neon craziness in that, where I've dipped down to about 25
Oh,
around
jeez.
there.
On
Yeah,
your PC.
it tanks it, my PC.
So how is shooting then in the game for you?
Shooting, I'm playing with the Iron controller. I'm using the Elite Series 2,
Oh, cool. Okay.
and it feels good. I mean, I won't say it's the best shooting in a game I've ever played, but it's good enough.
What do you think CD Projekt Red needs to do to actually like maybe improve it? Like, what would you want to see?
I mean, for me, I don't know. I don't know what it quite is. It's just because I think I'm using a lot of the aim assist, so that's kind of just,
Yeah.
I think, like, taking it everywhere. It's like I said, with rifles it's good, but with like handguns, pistols, and all that, it just feels like it's going all over the place. I don't know if that's a sensitivity thing.
I don't know, because I think I even went into the settings for it and I was trying to, I think, increase my
I haven't
sensitivity. So I was trying to sway a little bit more, a little quicker, because it felt like it was heavy at first. And
so I noticed there's a setting for, like, I think it was like weapon sway or something like that. So you can either put it, the weapon itself sways, or you sway or something like that. So I don't know if that's.
See, this is why it gets over my head, my stupid little brain, because I can't handle. To me, it just screams a PC game, like all together. I know it is, but like it just screams that this was meant for PC, and we are trying to get this out to obviously as many players as possible, and nothing can truly handle it other than your more top end, on the higher end PCs. And it's really disappointing to hear about how other players that are on base PS4s or their pros, and some people have said like my pro is okay. I've had some bugs, but nothing crazy. Xbox people seem to have a little bit better time. But that PlayStation 4 audience that is a huge install base really got the rough end of all of this. Al, what did you think about CD Projekt Red's statement, their apology statement that they came out with yesterday? If it was, what did you take from all of that, from that first little bit? And we'll talk about like kind of the first little bit is just, we just basically, we apologize for it. And we hope that you guys will kind of stick around and give us your trust. What did you take away from their whole statement?
They, like, I've watched listened to a lot of podcasts and takes, but they knew exactly what they were doing. They weren't giving out review codes for the base PS4s or any of that. They weren't giving out codes for that. That's why they just gave out PC codes. They knew exactly what they were doing. The fact that they're saying they apologize and all that, that's why I said it just makes me feel bad for enjoying this game, because of how scummy they've been handling this whole situation about how it runs on consoles, on last gen consoles specifically.
Which is their biggest audience. Like, I know the PC audience is absolutely huge, but in the, I guess, general public view, like the PlayStation audience, the Xbox audience from last gen a month ago, that's your biggest install base. And it's, I often use on the show like the examples of mom and dad getting a game for the kids, and Cyberpunk's not a good example of doing that because there's dongs in the damn 5 minutes of, I don't know why any of that's in there, but you are getting game and you are of age and you can get that mature title and you walk in there. But it's to not be able to run it because people can't just run out all the time and get consoles, nor can people actually get consoles right now because there's no stock of them. So you can't even pre-order, and anytime there's anything posted by Wario64 or anybody, they're gone. So I have a big problem with it too, of putting that statement out to say, yeah, we're sorry, and if you we understand if you want to refund it, but if you stick around, we're gonna try to make the base versions okay.
That's just a joke. Like, and they even said it in that letter, it's not gonna look like high end PCs.
Yeah, like you're apologizing to all these users. You're like, it's not gonna look good.
Yeah, it's like they're basically saying we'll make it playable. We'll not make it look good, but we'll make it playable.
But that's so vague, right? And it doesn't help them
It doesn't
when
at
they've
all.
spent $60+ on this thing that they had been excited for years for.
Yep.
And I know that even on like the Kind of Funny podcast where they had Paris on, even Paris said right away, who is a massive Cyberpunk fan,
Probably the number one fan.
and people have criticized him for just being like so far into Cyberpunk being before it released that like just loving the game and so excited, which I was very happy for him. I'm glad that he was excited, and he even said on that podcast today, he was like, yeah, it should have been baked until like April. It's not ready. And there's things he absolutely loves about it, and the whole crew loves about it, and there's things that they don't. Cody says, Kino Mega says in the chat, I think Greg said it best. The chance was when consumers pre-ordered the game. That was the chance that people took on them. Speaking about how the piece about trust, you had people's trust when you pre-ordered the game. And millions of people pre-ordered that game. And then they got what they got.
Yep.
What do you think happens going forward, other than they're going to patch it on base consoles? They're going to do what they can, but I have my Series X, and I had enough problems, and people were asking me this on the YouTube comments as well. They were like, oh, you said you had a Series X and you had all these. I have my Series X and I didn't have anything you're describing. I'm like, it just, for the way I guess I was anticipating this for so many years of this game ready to come out, it felt very fumbled. And I'm like, I'm paying $90 for something that it feels half baked.
Yep.
I'm like, I don't get this. Like, Madden sucks most years where it's kind of just incremental upgrades for $90 Canadian, and it runs way better. And you've had and they churn one out every 6 months. I know it's a different game, it's a different beast, but Al, like, what do you think that they're gonna do? What do you think CD Projekt Red is going to do about all of this, other than apologize?
I honestly don't know what they can do. Like, they can't make like the graphics suddenly look better.
Yeah.
I mean, they can optimize it, but that still won't make it look good. Like, you've seen the videos where it's just like a claymation almost is what they look like. The textures look like on base consoles.
Yeah, they're completely blurred out. Any of the details around you, like we've seen on like Digital Foundry, where they're like, "Yeah, here's a garbage can, or and a whole dumpster," and everything is just completely mudded. You're not changing that. Yeah, the people are just walking around. They've oozed face. They look like Clayface from Batman.
I saw a clip on Twitter of somebody that was playing, and they literally had to stand there and like stand right next to like the cop before all the textures loaded in, like piece by piece by piece by piece. And it's like it took them. It was dang near like 30 seconds to a minute before all the textures had loaded in, and they were just standing right there, just looking at them.
Do you think it has a lot to do, and because they're bigger companies, that it has a lot to do with shareholders, stocks, and it's not about?
I think that's entirely it. They were
it's
promised
not about the
Cyberpunk
gamers.
would come out this year. It was all the stockholders. Like, they're expecting Cyberpunk to come out this year. They're expecting to make tons of money, which they did. They made their profit back just in pre-orders alone on the first day.
But they knew they were going to make that money. Like, that's part of the thing I don't get either, Alan and Robert.
They wanted it this year. That's the thing.
You want it into Q4 of 20. Like, you can keep delaying it, but we've got to get this thing out in Q4 so we can actually hit a revenue for that year, for that fiscal year. Versus, I know, then it doesn't bleed over into the next, and you don't get it. But you know what the revenue is going to be. I'm not a businessman, but you know that you have this pre-order base, and what you're going to get. You have this guaranteed pot. So they know that the issue is not so much, I don't think, that they were worried that we're not going to make our money back in this game. They would have run the numbers and the analytics on their pre-orders and gone, okay, we have that. Now we're going to get the full installs of people that just go out and get it, not to mention several months of people just trickling in to get it, and deluxe, and, we discounted down the road. Robert says, too, in the chat, like, he goes, in his opinion, that a publicly traded company means all bets are off for that company doing what is, quote, best for the consumer. The baseline assumption should be they will do what's best for the shareholders and the board of the directors and so on. So, Al, to reinforce your point, it's entirely
100%.
about them. But we don't have this with other big companies. It feels like on this grand of a scale, right? We have issues. We've seen issues with games being delayed or not living up to their potential.
I think sorry not to cut
No,
you
no, no,
off,
go,
but I
go, go,
think
go.
the biggest thing is that this was a cross-gen game. It wasn't made for the hardware of last-gen consoles. It was made to be on these high-end. That's why they partnered with NVIDIA to get those, 3080, 3090. They get it looking that good.
But Al, to have it in bacon in the oven for whatever 6-7 years, all we had was PS4 and Xbox. They wouldn't have known until this last year what the specs of Series X and PS5 would have looked like, right? So
You're not wrong, but they also knew how it would run on PCs, though.
true. So do you
But
think that they figured, hey, if it runs like this on PC, then we're cool for PS4s, or we're okay. We're gonna be okay for the next gen.
I think that's what they weren't thinking too much. That's what all the delays were to try to get it working as best they could on last gen consoles. That's from what I remember hearing, that PC version's been good to go for months and months and months. They've been delaying to optimize console versions, and not even working on next gen versions. This is just trying to get last gen versions looking good and getting playable.
Playable, I think, is the key word, because I think some people are like, yeah, PS5 is fine other than the bugs and fine other than crashes, and they're able to kind of trug through it, not even discussing the story and the great things that are in that game, because there's a lot. I even said on my episodes, I was like, there's a lot to love about that game. There's some really great things. I don't think that there's anything personally. I don't think there's anything that is revolutionizing the genre. I think it's a lot of really amazing mechanics that we have seen from other games, and stuff that CD Projekt Red has done in the past with like The Witcher, and kind of meshed everything into one. I just think that there's still some areas that need to be improved. Bushel Game Jacob says, like, the goal of a company is to increase shareholder wealth, and I think that this is where we see a lot of issues. But I go back to an earlier point of, we don't have this level of issue when it comes to Call of Duty. We get a Call of Duty campaign that is 5 hours long, and the multiplayer has some good improvements potentially, but it is the same multiplayer, and it's still Warzone. It's the same. But people don't get that mad that, hey, you're shortchanging us $60, $80, $90 game for Call of Duty this holiday season, and I'm getting a 5-hour campaign. And I'm getting the multiplayer that is the same as what I got multiplayer basic. Like, if just you're the average gamer, right, and you're going, well, this is the same as last year, this isn't fair. But we don't get the same uproar. Why do you think that is, when certain titles, big giant companies with shareholders, they don't get it up in arms like we do with Cyberpunk?
Well, they've set the precedence. They know they're going to get a multiplayer, a short, concise campaign that's good for the most part. There's those Call of Duty campaigns where it's like, oh, this is a good one for Call of Duty, but then everybody's there for the multiplayer. I know Modern Warfare, they have their Spec Ops mode that people like.
Yep.
Black Ops had their zombies, and it's just, they know what to expect from those franchises. Whereas Cyberpunk, this is what CD Projekt Red's fourth game. They've done the 3 Witchers and now Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Like, they're new. They're newer, yeah. They're still working out those little kinks and stuff like that. And I think the big wrench in this was the cross-gen game. Like, they're probably just working on too much all at once. And if they would have just focused on PC, got that out first, and like been able to just essentially port it after they got that working.
And you want the biggest install base, right? I mean, I get it. The other side of looking at the investor side going, hey, the old last-gen console market is the biggest one. It has to go on there. And maybe, I mean, like you said at the beginning, you're like, they knew it wasn't going to work. But maybe it is that pressure of get it out, get it on there because we need to. Yeah. I'm with you where
should not have had a last-gen version.
No, it should have been a PC game where they said, we will release it in 2021 spring for next, and do the reverse. PC to PS5, Xbox, and then by the fall of 2021, we will give you an optimized version on PS4.
Potentially.
Essentially, like we'll get you one that will work. But at that point, you've had a year of people probably building up to go, Cyberpunk's amazing on PC. Okay, it's spring. Cyberpunk's really good on next-gen PS5, Xbox.
Yeah.
Hey, a couple of glitches, but really, that to me, that builds up hype and awareness from last-gen players that might be sitting there, or lapsed player that are going from their PS3s, PS4s, and going, yeah, I'm saving, I'm waiting for PS5s because also we can't get our hands on consoles. So I'm looking at next Christmas going, man, if you've had a year to kind of look at this game and all the build and goodwill that CD Projekt Red has done, because they do it the reverse, those people are now ready and able to get into the next gen game. But that's rose-colored glasses. Robert says too that is there any responsibility for gamers to do their due diligence on checking which version of the game was reviewed? If gamers knew that they actively didn't show last gen versions, then isn't the risk on them for pre-ordering? And every reviewer everywhere has always told us gamers not to pre-order, but we still do it. So the crux of the synopsis there, and Robert, thank you for that. It's very good. Is some responsibility should be on the gamer. We're doing a ton of blasting, and grabbing our controller pitchforks, and we are poking at CD Projekt Red for, how dare you? And people that are having amazing experiences are still, like yourself, they're still turning around going, hey man, it's really not cool that you screwed over this entire population of gamers. Your game is broken, even when people are having great optimized experiences. But is there responsibility on gamers?
100%. Like, that's why IGN, GameSpot, wherever you can do a review, they always have that little tagline, reviewed on blank. It's always there. Even on the written reviews, on the video reviews, it is there. Like, and even with Cyberpunk, they all said we were given a PC code. Yep. They all said it. It's, everybody said it. So I think it is 100% in gamers. It is their responsibility. Like, I know that's just me. Like, I always do my research for, like, I won't say reviews, for reviews, for like articles on stuff, like, for whatever product I'm trying to get. I'd like to get into that nitty gritty of like, okay, this one's better than this thing, and this one's better than this in this aspect. But it's always all about doing your research, being informed.
But it's an interesting world too, because I think of kind of comparison to phones, that tech of that world. Because you mentioned like okay, comparing specs and getting in the nitty gritty of it. I do the same thing when it comes to new phone launches. I just like to learn about what is the latest tech that they're putting in there, compare it to other models, blah blah blah. But with that world versus this, it's interesting to me because we are much more digital. Not everybody on a grand scale of things when it comes to games, but we have the ability now and the luxury to pre-order games or wait on games and get them digitally. So there is, in general sense, there is no real limitation on like, I can't really get this game. And frankly, even physical copies nowadays, at least where I am, I've never seen games run out of stock the way they used to on maybe even PS3. PS2 for sure. I'd walk into a GameStop and I couldn't get a game if it was a hot new thing. You couldn't get Call of Duty. You go to Walmart and you couldn't find it. It was sold out. Now it's the inventory is there is kind of my point. But on the the phone side, it's more restrictive. It's limited. It's based on where they go for it. Kind of my point was just trying to be like, well, you have the options to wait, and I'm saying this as someone who did not wait, and I think Robert is very right in that we need as a collective, in my opinion. You tell me what you think too, but like we need to do a better job as gamers to hold on. We speak with our wallets, which is always the tagline. And we did. And we all said, yay, give it to us. And we all got PC reviews that we all watched online. We all did it. And it's all PC codes. I still hit buy. And I still bid. Why do you think I clicked buy, Al? And everyone in the chat too. Why did I click buy? I refunded, but why did we do it?
I think it's just FOMO, fear of missing out. I think it's just one of those things, everybody's talking about it. I think, I mean, I know I suffer from FOMO all the time.
It's such an interesting. I think it's going to be a really interesting case study down the road because I am a dork. But I
Mhm.
think it is a clear, interesting case study in a year to 5 years from now of what impact games marketing and hype can have on player base within a genre, within just gaming itself as a medium.
Mhm.
Because movies, the Avengers movies come out, people lose their minds and there's lineups and they do it there too. But I'm like, you could just wait a day. You could just go on Tuesday afternoon and there's no one in the theater. No, but I gotta see it now. I'm like, well, you don't. But we do it anyways, and we wait and we get crappy seats. I'm like, but you can just wait 48 hours. Maybe
Mhm.
just go dark on Twitter, put your phone down. You can go see the movie. It's the same movie. It's the same experience. It's
It's all about being with the hype and being in that moment with everybody else.
I hope it changes people for their perspective, even people like me, to go,
Mhm.
that was a mistake. And not hearing, and it doesn't apply to all games, right? Because I will sit there and go through the websites, watch reviews, and then nowadays too, being smarter with my time generally, I'm like, okay, if I want this game, I really want to see the reviews on it, and then okay, I think
Mhm.
I'll get it because it's something I will actually enjoy. But I think for me, it puts me now in a spot with bad taste in my mouth for something we're excited for, and it wronged so many people. Um, Makes me want to hold back when there's larger games and ones that maybe
Mhm.
are a little bit more on the we're not sure what this will be side versus
Mhm.
your kind of your tentpole games of your Maddens and your Call of Duties and your racing game titles like Forzas, things like that, and smaller indie games that we kind of know what we're gonna get. What do you think?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be that person and be like, I kind of figured that this wouldn't run well on. I mean, not, I wasn't expecting anything to this extent, but I had that kind of guess that it wasn't going to be running well on last gen consoles. So a while back, I kind of made the decision myself. It's like I got this nice PC. I know it's not the latest and greatest, but I think I can actually get it running decent at least.
Mm-hmm.
So I made the decision a while back to go PC. Um, I think part it's sorry, can you repeat the question? I kind of lost my train of thought there.
No, no, no. Sorry, I'm just really talking about like, do you think gamers need to be more cautious going forward with
Yeah.
games and developers that maybe are a little more unknown on the grand scale?
Hmm. Oh, for sure. I mean, there's a whole reason that people always go on that bit where everybody's backlog is huge. So they're like, I can skip out on this one, plays some of my games in my backlog, and then wait till the bugs are patched out, kind of thing. Um, Although it is hard because, like I said, FOMO is real. That's it, it's a big thing to be a part of that conversation, be in the moment with everybody. But it's one of those things that you just have to be strong and get past that. It'll last just the week.
And in
So,
that week, what we've seen, look what happened in a week. The game came out on the 10th. Is that right,
10th on
guys?
Thursday, but
Yeah,
it was actually last Wednesday. It unlocked on PC and
on
Stadia.
PC. But for console players, it's
It was
six.
midnight.
It's six
Yeah.
days.
Yeah,
It's been out for
that's crazy.
6 days, and we've
That's
had
crazy.
the biggest backlash I've seen in gaming,
Oh
recent
yeah.
memory. Apology letters 5 days after a release, not
Re-
even a
the
week.
refund. Like, have you seen the email that they send back after you request a refund?
Is it now? Some people were tagging me directly, and they were like, because I mentioned how I got my refund for it through Microsoft, and other people were coming back to me. They're like, "This is the message I got," which is basically just, "Sorry, no, you can't."
Yeah, no, this is if you go through the email that CD Projekt Red put in
Oh, that
their
one.
letter.
What's
That
that one
one.
like?
That one, it's basically like go to or if you got it through Xbox and Microsoft, do this thing. If you got it on PlayStation, just wait. We'll because they're having a hard time, I guess, with PlayStation because PlayStation put out that statement saying, "Oh, they're going to patch it. They'll make it playable. We're not giving out refunds."
Of course they don't want to. That's so much more work and lost money for PlayStation. Like, they're going to hold off and make it as hard as possible. And I've even seen people that are like, yeah, for the Xbox community, they're looking at it. I'm just wondering, my feed is slowing down on this side. How's it look on your end?
You
good?
Looks good.
Yeah, everything was good live. Oh yeah, came back. It's kind of slowed down on my end. Yeah, people on the Xbox side, when I got mine, it was I was literally the night before they sent out the press release. So I literally went through, I just Googled Microsoft Xbox refund, and it took me to their page, and then it just click refund, sign in, refund. And I got my confirmation emails and everything within minutes, and it was done. I got 3 emails from Microsoft, all just basically confirming, hey, it's done, it's processing, you're good. And now, the day after the announcement came out, anybody and everybody, at least on the Xbox side, is like, they're not doing it. They're not honoring it. And like you just said, Sony's not doing it, or they're going to make it really, really hard for you to get it. Do you think, Al, that this would, and this is kind of one of the closing pieces I want to talk to you about, but like, do you think that this will, because so many people have had problems, CD Projekt Red has put it out there of like, hey, you want to refund it? Go ahead. I think a lot of general gamers would look at it and go, I can refund this game? Wait a minute. I bought this here. I have a lot of questions, sir, because I got this at Target. I got this at Walmart. They told me I can't. I bought this digitally. I didn't know I could refund a digital game. Hold on a second. This opens a big can of worms.
So
do you think, what's your take on all of this? Does this start a precedent or change the rules of how these like Sony, Microsoft, and so on are going to have to change how they do things?
I think they're going to stick with their guns. Like, I know, so Steam, their refund policy is if it's within, I think it's either 7 days or 14 days of the game's release, and you've played 2 hours or less, you can get a full refund, no questions asked. I know for a while, Xbox had a similar refund policy. So I don't know. I think they've gotten a little bit stricter from what I've heard. I don't know exactly how it's changed, but I know PlayStation, they have a very strict refund policy. Theirs is if you pre-order or if you bought a game, you can get a refund as long as you haven't started to download it yet.
Jeez. Yeah. So it's just we just basically put the hold on the money and then refund you. Yeah. The pending.
Yeah. So it's like you can't even download the game to get a refund.
That's crazy. Al, do you think
that's why I just don't see a way around? I don't think they're going to change their policies at all. I think they're saying, hey, this is what it is. Like, that's why Sony put out that statement saying, hey, they say they're going to fix the game, they'll fix the game.
But this puts in my opinion, another bad taste in the mouth of CD Projekt Red of, within that statement, there being a lot wrong with that. The whole thing was just a debacle, in my opinion. And to say, to throw it out there and go, hey, we will honor refunds. We'll honor them. So that implies to everybody that, great, so I can go to Sony and Microsoft and get my money back. Yeah, we're going to honor refunds for the game. They go and try it, and to your point, you're like, well, Sony's not doing it. Xbox is now really not doing it either. Nobody wants to do it. So making everyone jump through hoops. I think CD has put this, like, it's really put them in a hole on I think even on a bigger scale with maybe even hurt their relationships with, Sony and Xbox. And Xbox was doing all of the marketing behind it, right? Whenever you see a commercial, it was all CD Projekt Red, and it was Mr. Keanu Reeves, and it was the Xbox logo. Yeah. Like, it's not a good look when you're telling everybody you can refund their game.
That's not a good look, too, is that, I guess, because this came out in an investor call, I remember hearing on KFGD with that Imran said that they didn't pass any certifications with Sony or Microsoft.
Really?
Yeah, that came out in the investor call where they did this letter and all that. And they straight up said, because I guess Imran had said that, bigger games have been known to, basically skip past certification, just be like, yeah, we'll get these bugs kicked out or worked out. And clearly, they did not. The fact that, like I said, to bring it full circle, it's like the fact that they didn't give out any review codes for consoles. Not even just like a backwards compatibility on PS5 or Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
Just no console codes whatsoever.
And to at least say that even like, okay, we're going to have you can get it on PS5, but the, next gen version, up-res version is going to be patched in a couple of months. We're already seeing that with certain games.
That's the thing. They don't even know. They didn't even said when the next gen version. They just said 2021.
Yeah, they don't seem to know.
That's scary.
That's very scary. Al, what is, to kind of close things off, what are some of the things, though, because I got to end on a positive note, but what are some of the things that you are loving about Cyberpunk right now, and what's keeping you engaged with the game?
For one thing, I am loving the music.
Yeah,
the music
soundtrack's fantastic.
Just especially when you get into combat situations, just that blood pumping of music and all that. A light spoiler. You get to, at the end of Act 1, you get to play as Johnny for a bit, and you get this crazy powerful handgun. It's so much fun to use. It's like 20 times as power. No, I'd say it's almost 100 times as powerful, because I think I was getting like maybe 100 to 200 damage when I was doing like headshots and all that with my guns, but then I'd play as that or use that gun. I was getting like 2200 damage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's insane. But it's one of those games, like, I'm just having a good time with it. I think part of it is because, not that I don't love streaming and all that, but I'm doing this first run off stream just to enjoy the game, absorb it all. Just, it's been a while since I've just been able to sit down, play a game, and just lose myself in it.
That's awesome.
Not have to try to be entertaining, you know.
You can just do it your way.
I did the same thing with The Last of Us 2, just because spoilers were plenty around then.
Just a little.
So, so it was just that kind of thing, just to kind of unplug and just zone out. And it's that thing with open world games, just to lose yourself in that world, whether it be Breath of the Wild, Horizon, Cyberpunk, like just to get lost, just doing what you want to do in those games.
I think we all need it sometimes too. Al, I want to thank you very much for being on the show. I have so much more I do want to talk to you about, but I got to be able to close things out because I want to be able to talk more about streaming. I want to talk more about the podcast. I want to talk more about just what you're enjoying to play right now. Al, where can everybody find you, lurk, search for you? Give them the rundown, sir.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram at Albob875. And you can also find me over on Waypoint Podcast. You can find us on YouTube. We're working to get our 100 subscribers to get that custom URL. We also are on Anchor and all podcast platforms. Search for Waypoint Podcast. Look for the purple pin.
Fantastic. Al, thank you so much for being on the show. It's awesome to have you as always and chat with you and be face-to-face virtually with you, my friend. So I really hope you can come back on the show because I definitely want to talk more with you.
Anytime, man.
All right, take care. Thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much to Albob875 for joining us on today's show. I had a great time having Al on, talking everything from Twitch, the kind of current state of Twitch as a platform, where he thinks everything is going to be going, all the things that Al is working on from his podcast to Waypoint Podcast and his stream, and as well as talking to us about his thoughts and impressions so far with Cyberpunk 2077. I had a great time. Al, thank you so much for being an awesome guest on the show. Tune in next week as we have Mav from Fun Speculation joining us on Monday's episode, talking all things Xbox and gaming, family and kids. And then we are going to close off the holidays on the 23rd, where we have Connor joining us, a.k.a. Scooter Cannon. And he's going to be joining us for some festive fun. Grab your eggnog, grab your scotch, grab whatever the heck you got to do. Put a Santa hat on if you need to. Get festive with us. We're having a good time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, thank you guys for assembling with us. See ya.